Pleasant evening. My name is Victor Phillip, born loyal inside San Fernando. Went to Coffee C School, Coffee Boys CC School, captain both cricket and football team. I love tailoring. I love design, garments. So I worked, I learned trade at Hamidi Khan, who I grew up with. Was a, was a father to me. My father was very, very strict. I was miserable. Cuss everybody. Behave bad. I never take nonsense from people. A little boy, always straightforward. So if my father do something wrong, I will tell him he do something wrong. And we couldn't get along for that. Put me out. I was age 13. So I grew up on the street of San Fernando. Miss Long and Miss Alexander, they fed me. Those days you had people was concerned about young people on the streets. However, that didn't deter me from being somebody. I learned trade. I was good. I started working shim tailoring. Shim tailoring. You made clothes for people like the high court judges, Solomon Hook Choi, the Caribbean prime ministers, and Compton and Blair. So I worked at Shim. Very successful. I decided to open my own business. Uneducated, never passed school even. However, I started working at Shim. Unfortunately for me, I started doing some contract work with Acosta. And Acosta took me to Dr. Williams. I made some suits for Dr. Williams. And his advisor, Paul Figaro, came to my office one day, my bread shop. I took a bread shop and turned it into a tailor shop, a boutique. Belmont Circular Road, my first business. Ria Pollan was so sympathetic with me that he gave me the place very cheap. Started my business. Never a bank account. Only had money in my pocket. I know how to make money. Ain't nothing but banking and business plan and all of that. Paul Figaro came to me and he started to speak to me about developing my business. I tell him I do not know how. I don't know what he's talking about. Man, they call Bird, who was the marketing manager, Republic Bank, came into my business tonight about 10, 11 o'clock. He said to me, every time I pass here, you're working. I pass 2 o'clock in the morning, you're working. I pass 6 o'clock in the morning, you're working. I pass 2 o'clock in the evening, you're working. What time you sleep? When I have no work to do. Jamal, I want you to prepare a business plan, trial balance and cash flow and balance sheet. I just write down things. I couldn't even make out my handwriting when I finish. But Umbala was my friend. So I went to Umbala and told him, look, a white man named Bird come to my place and he told me he wanted me to come to the bank and to prepare these things to come to the bank. He said he gonna help you, but he gonna bust it throat if you make a mistake. I said, well, I don't have a choice. And then Mr. Bird passed back and told me I have an appointment with the bank. I went to the bank and he asked me how much money I want. Well, I had no balance sheet and I do nothing and I just went with 2 hands like that. And Mr. Bird put me to sit down for half an hour and gave me a lecture on capitalism and slavery. So you want to be an entrepreneur now? You want to be a big businessman? You want to enslave your own kind? Pay them small wages, make big profits, build big house, drive Mercedes Benz, and the people working for you, you give them pittance. He said, I know you're going to pay me back, but I'll lend you $17,000. No, you ask me how much I want. I tell him $17,000. Let me send you. First time in my lifetime I have a bank account. I was about in my 30s, late 30s, early 40s. Did not know how to sign a check. I went by Umbala again. That's how I started business. Then Joe Padilla came. Then I had an appointment to see Clyde James. Then they put me in a program, a 4.5 year implant training program, funded by World Bank. Management skills. That's how I started business. From going up on the streets, learning a skill, doing it well, working hard, and being successful at that. Because I was taught early o'clock by Mr. Khan, the only way you could get out of poverty, you have to make up your mind to work hard. So I worked hard. However, I grew up with my father as a young fella, as a young boy. And we had to learn construction. So I knew construction from a very tender age, because when my father got the Aided Cerebral House, this Dr. Williams gave to the party group number 16, my father got sick. So my brother and myself worked. And in so working, I've learned basic construction skills. My brother was a mason, I have a cousin, an architect. The entire family was in construction. So after being victimized by the PNM, because there was a billboard in my yard, and I can remember, can't forget, the team song, the PNM was PNM, PNM, PNM. They run electricity and put some boxes in front of my home. And they spent almost 2-3 weeks there. Phillip! Because all I did was have in my yard, a billboard in my yard. But the house that I was living in, was a house given to me by my father. And Patrick Manning used to come there as a boy. Mr. Manning used to be there. Mr. Donovan used to be there. Mrs. Cowie Warner used to be there. Errol Mahabia, Winston Mahabia, Donald Grenado, Gerald Montano. Our home was a home that the PNM executive used to be. And as boys, we used to be roasting corn, turning ice cream. Then we had a little party branch, a little party group. A funny name, all in the party group, boy, a little youth group. That's how I grew up. I grew up with everybody calling my father PNM Phillip. He got a job in the Borough Council through Gerald Montano when Gerald Montano was mayor. Because they fired him from the sugar industry, the sugar field in East Malden, because he shut down he shut down the sugar factory. Pull up a thing because they wanted 3 cents an hour on the pay. And Titan Lyle won't give him 3 cents an hour on the pay. He shut down the sugar factory. Pandey became the union leader then, and my father was sent back a day because the steamer used to come up the river. Sugar used to come back a day, and this through the steamer, go to the steamer on a batch. So my father lost his job. He used to go and fish, and he planted garden to miners. Poor. You wash your shirt in the evening, right to go to school in the morning. However, I survived that. And when I came back home from abroad, after being victimized by the PNM, came back home, T-Tuck sent me home. T-Tuck paid for me in Chancellor because I came to look after TikTok business. Nobody in the PNM behaved as if they knew me. When they come to New York, we will raise money, barbecue, labor this stuff, and send them things here for the election. And even after the election, we send them hampers, whatever. No respect at all I got when I came in. Never mind. But I came home because of John Donaldson. Because John Donaldson is the one that encouraged me to come back home. I said, when you come home, come and see me. I went and see him. Can you buy Noel Gas here? Go and buy Noel Gas. Noel Gas, I'm talking about soil test and organic. I said, listen to me. What are you fooling yourself for? But I want to call I look like a priest. What you ask me if I know about soil test? I come here to see if we can get business from HCC. What are the requirements? Me come here to beg for no contract, you know. Never got a contract from HCC. Never got one job from HCC. I never was able to pre-qualify in HCC for some reason, but so be the case. So I set up Inch Construction. Had no money for marketing, so I put the name on the van, Inch by Inch. Everybody used to laugh. Inch by Inch, funny name, Inch by Inch. Yeah. But in a little while, everybody was saying Inch, Inch. People started to call me Inch, Inch, Inch by Inch. And that's how we build the brand, Inch by Inch. What we just call guerrilla marketing. Make some handbill and stand up by the Frederick Street and on my handbills. And then I was advised, why you don't try to get government contracts, pre-qualified tenders board. So to pre-qualified tenders board as a small businessman, it is take a little toll out of you. Because you have to get audit financial statements, whatever. But we did. And we qualified. We pre-qualified in tenders board. Then we had to pre-qualify EFCL, pre-qualify the port, pre-qualify UTT. It took us about 2 years doing just the paperwork to be able to establish Inch Construction and Marketing Company. So we had no money for marketing or anything like that. And then somebody advised me to join the Contractors Association. So I joined the Contractors Association. Mikey was the president at the time, Mikey Joseph. So I served under Mikey Joseph, I served under Moving Chin, and I served under Garcia. I served 3 terms on the executive board of the Contractors Association. I went to Jamaica with the Contractors Association because the Jamaican Contractors Association had a dinner. I went to that. Mikey Joseph and myself went to that. He introduced me as the the upcoming vice president of the association. But we disagree. And that was it because they were fighting Patrick Manning. And Patrick opened him out and said he's my friend. And after that, if they're fighting Patrick and with call the heart, and it's Patrick's friend, you know how that won't go down when they have a conversation. It's just when they see me come in, they will just shut up. So I went through that. I resigned. I didn't go up for office the next term. And I served there well. Free. You don't get paid to be in the Contractors Association board. It's free service. What defiles a man? Hear what the book said. There was a parable Christ gave to them. And Peter asked, they declare unto us the parable. And Jesus said to Peter, he said, are you without understanding? You with me? How come you don't have the understanding? Do you not understand that whatsoever entered into the mouth goes out in the belly and is cast into the drought? But these things which proceeded out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defileth a man. What defileth a man? Things that come out of his mouth. For out of the heart proceeded evil thoughts, murder and adultery and fornication and thefts and false witness and blasphemy. These are the things that defile a man. Karen 2022 campaign can only hope the man repent. As if he fear God. Had it been one of us, the executive of the PNM would have bring us before the disciplinary committee. Article 22, clause 5. They would have brought us before the disciplinary committee. Could you imagine the headline in the Express? Priest violate code of conduct. That's bacchanal because that's what they like to do. Change the narrative, make a bacchanal, so you lose your focus. So all of a sudden you're studying the bacchanal what they say and you lose focus of the objective. Why in the internal race? So they can't fool us with that. We are not that dotish. There's an issue that is burning in my ethos, my spirit. Lyra Skinner, a beloved sister of mine, spiritual sister, bought a house in 2005. And her documents is still in land settlement to what transfer a deed, assign a deed to her. The lawyers did not assign the deed to her. So it ended up being in a situation where she had to apply for a new lease. You know what's the cost for her to apply for a new lease? 400,000 for 100 years lease. 120 for 30 year lease. 120,000 you're charging a poor person for this. So she gave me authority. I signed off on that. $120. 2005 to now. They have 86,000 leases in the Ministry of Agriculture to regularize and to prepare 86,000 families. They have tied up because they can't have the assets. Had they understood the law, there would be a class suit against the state to fix that. And what the cabinet is aware, the executive of the PLM is aware of that. I went to Ramat myself for that matter. I went to his office, hand him the information. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. Another burden issue I have. Salt was Plain Cooperative Society Limited. Here the motto, to cooperate is to emancipate. So members are putting their money. The last general meeting they had was in Wednesday, the 29th of April 2009. City Hall, Knockshit, Port of Spain at 5:30 p.m. Members of the board of that cooperative were senators serving the corporation, see it? Serving the corporation. Nothing happening. Nobody knows what's happening. But as a shareholder, I am asking the Salt Port of Spain executive to send me something in writing. What is the status of the credit union? To be fair, I want to know. I'm not reporting anything. I'm not saying anybody do anything wrong. Send me something in writing. Let's see if you're listening. And at that time I'm speaking about, I was functioning in Salt Port of Spain. Loxley, Curtis Victor, Peter John, myself, Doldron, is so responsible for Marlene in the PNM politics. We are the ones responsible for her. Mr. Lennon didn't want that. I tile her office. I work with her throughout the campaign. Sealots, John, Woodbrook, St. James. We work with her. Dominic, my granddaughter, Carol. We walked every day with Marlene. Because nobody in South Port of Spain wanted Marlene. She from Rosehill, and somehow they had a candidate and they didn't want Marlene. But so happened she won the nod from Patrick. What we was doing in Mobile Lavanty? We employ black youths in the Lavanty Mora area, and we were praying that they learn something on the job site, on our job sites. We had projects, Port Authority, Clean and Shed 10, education facilities, EFCL. We had restoration of Fatima College, the lab, roof, whole building. We had School of the Blind, plus restoration of Besson Street sporting facilities, project managed by East Boston Development Company Limited. A state enterprise with incompetent staff. They had no construction experience whatsoever, but they're spending taxpayers' money. Board members lack any kind of experience running a company. Fifi had to fire people on my job site, cuss them, fire them, tell them don't come back on this job site. Because the designing as they're going along, I get 1,000,001 drawings. That's, I mean 1,000,001 drawings. We got umpteen drawings. Like every Monday morning, you get a new drawing, a new design. Spending taxpayers' money with no construction experience, the designing projects, send out for requests for proposals with unfinished designs. And when you finish the job, you have to prove that you have money to do the job. You have to set up bond. And when you finish, they ain't have money to pay you. How unfair that is. You see how important the procurement law is? The procurement bill is? That's how important it is. Government can't get a contract, and after you finish the contract, they are going to pay. The same way you have to show the money before you start the work. They're going to show you the money. They'll show you that money for you to do. When you finish the work, you get paid. But they want to tailor it. They want to do their own thing. Well, so be it. And on that job, we had 2 officers with me, 2 officers with Carol, Lucius Kimlin, my wife, and 2 officers on the job site, 24/7. If I go into the beach, I have 2 officers. If I go into a Thanksgiving service, I have 2 officers. If I go into a burial in the cemetery, I have 2 officers. If I go into a wake, regardless of where we going, we have to have 2 officers. People not understanding what's happening in this country, because people are not speaking about it. They're afraid to speak about it because they speak about it. Victimization from the PNM. The slogan is, we love you, we're going to take care of you. Take care of who you are talking about? The financiers who they spend only for an exchange? That's you they're talking about. And what the PNM executive doing about that? They know all these people spending on finance or foreign exchange. What they do, they adding nothing to the country. They're just buying and selling. They bring it in, they put it in a package. They say it is manufactured. Manufacturers make things from raw materials. They are packagers. They are packaging plants. That now a long time. They always had packaging plants. But government is aware. Central executive is aware. But who cares? Nobody don't care about that. What they care about is that they could use those big money for campaigns. When the campaign finish, them fellas come with a big bucket. So no money coming down to the ground. Netco is a failure. Everybody know Netco is a failure. If you apply for a loan in Netco, every time you apply for a loan, they open a new file. You know, I got 3 loans on Netco and I have 3 files. And they say, well, after you graduate, keep going up. So my next graduation for loans is $500,000, but I can't get that. I make application to get the 500,000, you can't get that. You have to be an insider the PNM. I mean, what I'm saying to you, could ask Talbot Paul. Talbot Paul was deputy CEO of Netco, deputy chairman of Netco. He could tell you that. He started an initiative for Lavadi Mover. They shut him down with that, you know. He started a Lavadi Mover initiative to assist small black businessmen. Shut him down. They never authorized that plan. Netco is a failure. Netco have people on the board who have no idea about running small business. If you get them fellas a little parlor, they sell cigarettes, they make a profit. They can't. They don't know how to do business. They're not business people. They just cannot do business. But you put them on boards, on state boards. You know, because what? They could throw the line. Those are the ones that jumping up now all over the place for them, who don't want to be quoted the political leader because they can't do nothing by themselves, you know. None of them can stand up by themselves and do something and be successful doing it. Hold on to a quoted and feed from the trough. And look for little deeds at the side. That's what it is. We can't continue with that. We cannot continue with that. And as you know, as Maestro say, you know, it better be called back Dr. Rat, you know, to run the country, you know. But they want criminals to run the country. Right now, it's criminals running the country. They don't have no say. I mean, if the whole country telling you, if the whole country is saying to you, Heinz is a failure. He was mover, a failure and mover. You bring him Lavanti West. You expect him to be successful? Failure. Donna Cox, failures. There was ministers in the ministry. They were never given complete ministries to run. So when you see money missing from social services, how many millions missing, 50 million missing, what do you expect? They cannot run business. A ministry has to be run as a business. Balize House has to be run as a business. This is not Dolly House, you know. This is not a neighborhood parlor, you know. How come a company can't submit all the financial statement at the end of the year? You have a whole accounting department. But yet, 2-3 years, you can submit financial statements. 6 years, nobody seems to be concerned about that. They're not accountable, they're not transparent with taxpayers' money. And if you speak about it and tell them about it, they victimize you. They say you're against the party. You're bad talking the party. The party going down in a hole, you know. But they can't see the party going down in a hole, you know. They're on a pinnacle somewhere, in a cloud somewhere. They head in the cloud because the good life. We have to change what is happening in this country. We have to change it. We are not afraid of them. We are saying to them, you are not accounting to the population. You have not been developing the party groups. You could imagine in a Rima, 9,000 persons voted for the PNM, but you only had 2,000 members. That's only for inter-election vote, you know. You're not extending the services to the party, you know, to the population. You know. If 3,000 persons voted for you, at least you have a membership of 250,000, 250 members. 9,000 voted for you, and 3,000 voted for you in general election, and you only had 90,000 members or 100,000 members. Lack of concern of making sure that the democratic process, the democratic way of life is practiced. Article 2 of the Constitution. So, what am I saying to you here now tonight? I'm saying to you, I want you to vote Karen Nunes Teixeira as political leader of the PNM, Dr. Ken Butcher for chairman of the PNM, and Bishop Victor Phillip for election officer of the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM, and it shall prevail. God bless you.